Hey, welcome to our GBWC 2019 special. We'll be taking a look at all the champions from the different countries that's going into the final event next week in Japan. Now, before we share with you who I think is going to be the top picks for champion for both categories, open and also junior, I would like to say that the amount of pictures that I put in here is not biased or leaning against any certain countries. The reason is because I really tried very hard and I spent a lot of time scouring the internet to get pictures from Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, but for the life of me, I cannot find any more pictures for both category champions from countries such as Canada, France, Italy, Taiwan, China, and Thailand. For some reason, man, I just couldn't find it. Maybe it's in a different language like Chinese and Thai and Italian and French. So maybe that's the reason why you don't see a lot of pictures from the winning entries from those 6 different countries. Now, with that said, I do need some help if you're in Canada, France, Italy, Taiwan, China, or Thailand. If you guys would like to support us in our GBWC coverage that's happening every single year, I would really appreciate it very, very much. So please let us know if you guys can help out in the GBWC coverage in your respective countries. Now let's get on to the junior categories. This year, junior categories was quite an interesting bunch in terms of the champions that were selected. Definitely in terms of the junior category, the skill sets have improved year over year. But I think this year, there aren't a lot of big entries as what we've seen before. With the exception of South Korea, a lot of the junior entries are quite basic and quite small in that regard as well. But after looking through all the all the junior category champion, I have to say, in terms of who is going to win the junior category, it is by far Japan is my topic. I think the overall concept, the team, the finishing, and the presentation of Amuro battling it out with Char and having it in both a the RX-78-2 versus Sazabi with a big mega size at the back as well. Overall concept is pretty strong, and I think that would be my top pick as who's going to be the junior category champion. In terms of runner-up, well, my 2 top picks for the junior category runner-up is actually the one from South Korea and also from Singapore. These 2 are quite strong contenders for runner-ups because I would have to say the overall concept of the mobile suit in a hangar by South Korea and this mobile suit on a horse, overall presentation and paint job finishing is really well done. So those will be my 2 top picks for runner-up in junior category. Let us know what you guys think of my pick for junior category in the comment section down below. Now let's look at the open category, and before I share with you who are my picks for champion and also runner-up for this year's GBWC, I just want to say a couple of things that I noticed from this year's competition. Number 1, in terms of overall team, I'm sure you have noticed this by now, a couple of countries, all the winning champion for open category have a similar recurring team, and that is of course incorporating a Eastern team into their entry, whether it is a ninja, samurai, oni, or Chinese dragons and whatnot. But this year, surprisingly, if you look at most of the winning entries from Australia, Taiwan, Thailand, even China, and also the Japanese entry itself, there are a lot of Eastern elements being built into their entries. So for me, I think that's great change of pace, but quite surprising that this year most of the winning entries actually have the same common theme. So that's one thing I noticed, right? For me, well, GUNDAM has always been about sci-fi and warfare. So I've always been leaning more towards actual, more mechanical like builds. So when I saw some of those winning entries that has so much Eastern element baked into their entry, I thought that was okay, it's the freedom expression of all the individual GUNPLA builder entries. But to have so many different entries being picked as champ with the same team and element is going to be surprising to see how the judges in Japan next week going to go with that selection, right? I mean, is this year going to be the battle of Eastern team for open category, or is it going to be more about paint job and also the finishing of the kit instead of just talking about overall presentation in terms of team? So That is one observation that I have. For me, to be very frank, I really like the Oni Dead Samurai team from GBWC Vietnam champion. Unfortunately, I'm not able to find any more pictures of the winning entry. So if you guys, anyone from Vietnam here, can send the links to me, that'll be great. So those is the first team that I noticed from this year's competition. Observation number 2, well, considering that this year is the Gundam franchise 40th anniversary, I was actually expecting a lot more open category entries to go in with this team and to actually win. But surprise, surprise, only Singapore had the winning entry regarding the Gundam 40th anniversary. The rest of it, really didn't even touch on that subject, with the exception of course, the junior category champ from Japan. But other than that, no one really focused on the 40th anniversary team. All were picked as the champion for this year. So that is the other surprising observation. Observation number 3 for this year's GBWC Japan, well, there aren't a lot of big winning entries too. So if you look at the couple of years back, even going back all the way to 2014, where, if I'm not mistaken, Andy Wong from Malaysia was the winning champion, his entry was humongous, right? It was a very big entry. He won the country competition, and he went on to win the World Championship in Japan as well. But if you look at this year, most of the entries are relatively surprisingly quite small. So I think everyone is focused a lot more on storytelling and not more in terms of building one that will really wow you in terms of size. So that is some other observation I have for the GBWC 2019 competition this year. Observation number 4, well, this year we do see a lot more champion GBWC entries focusing on Diorama. So I think previous couple of years ago, if you look at all the open category entries, they were really more focused on the mobile suit itself. So in terms of detailing, the paint job, the presentation, it was really focused on the mobile suit instead of the actual diorama that encapsulates the storytelling. So this year it seems to be returning to that feel again. So if you look at, for example, this South Korea entry, which I really like in terms of not only the paint job is spectacular, but the diorama itself, when you look at it, you just really understand the concept, right? It's a Gundam wing floating down to rescue the RX-78-2, which is severely damaged in battle. So that is actually a very nice diorama. So I think this year the grand champion will be one with a humongous diorama that really focus on storytelling. That is observation number 4. Observation number 5, well, if you look at all the grand champion from this year, a lot of them were not actually a Gundam mobile suit base. So that is actually a very welcome change. So if you can see, for example, like the winning entry from Malaysia, from Philippines, Indonesia, and also from America as well, and also from France, a lot of them will focus more on grunt units such as the Jesta, the GM snipers, and also some custom mobile suit based on those grunt units. So that is actually quite a welcome change to see winning entries focusing on different mobile suits other than RX-78-2. But then again, of course, if you look at all the past GBWC champion open category, not many grunt units were picked as champions. So that kind of worries me a little bit, because as you know, I'm a big fan of the grunt units, the mono eyes as well, but not many of those guys have actually won the grand champion category for open category GBWC. So hopefully this year it will change. And of course, I know it's hard to tell the difference, especially when we're looking at the entries from the pictures of the internet. But this is where I would like to say a very big thank you to all of you guys who have helped to make all of our GBWC video coverage possible. I mean, without you guys who have sent in those clear, awesome shots from the show floor itself and also videos, I think our fans and subscribers to our channel will not be able to look at all the awesome builds and also, more importantly, get inspired and join the category GBWC event next year. For me personally, I think that's my goal. I would try to enter GBWC 2020 in Malaysia, so it would just be for fun, right? I don't think I will be able to even rank, but it'll be just for fun. Just enter GBWC 2020 next year. But right now, all I'm seeing is, focus on the storytelling and get inspired by all the winning entries from the different countries. Now, before I share with you the top list of who we think is going to be the open category champ and also runner-up, let's talk about my favorite entry from the competition so far. This winning entry from France is actually quite interesting because I've always liked mono eye, but to have two mobile suits suspended in the entry like they're ready to attack and a little bit weathered damage from battle is really quite something else. I really like this entry, and frankly speaking, I do hope this entry will be able to place in the finals next week. But given the history of GBWC, how the judges look at the entries, and since this is not really a Gundam mobile suit involved, I don't think the judges will pick this as a winning entry or even place as a runner-up. That is quite unfortunate, but nevertheless, it's one of my favorite entry from the competition so far. The other winning entry that I really like is this one from Hong Kong, right? Very thick, very heavily armored, and details are going bazookas, I think, everywhere. Wherever you look, there are so much details at every single angle, every different part. And I think that's probably one of the reasons why it won the GBWC competition in Hong Kong. But as I've mentioned earlier, given that how this year's open category team is all about big dioramas, this I think will not be able to place. But then again, I really like this entry. It's just so much going for it. It's definitely superb, and I wish I can have one of these in my own collection. Now the third entry, again, not really Gundam based, but again, this is a Eastern team, is the one that I really like from all the open category champs so far. This is the one from Vietnam. Surprisingly, this entry from Vietnam is based on the Oni, the Ghosts, the Guardians of Hell from Japan, and I think the overall concept, build, and the paint finishing is really something else. It's just unfortunate that I can't get a lot more high-res visuals from this entry. So, but all in all, definitely one of my favorite, three of my key favorite from the open category from the competition this year. Which are the ones that you guys really like from the competition this year that you think will not be able to place or become a champion, but just something that really speaks to you? Would really love to hear from you guys in the comment section down below. Now, let's get into who we think is going to be our top picks for Grand Champion GBWC 2019. Us being Malaysian, I think we have to be a little bit biased here, but I think the Angel Strikes Back entry from Eric, this year's champ from Malaysia, is really something else. The entry itself is a very big diorama, sort of like a sci-fi ring, and if you look at the entry in person, if you had a chance to visit GBWC event a couple of weeks back, you will notice that there's actually quite a lot of LEDs built into the stage itself. So that is actually one thing that you really can't tell from the pictures, but those are actually LED lighted ropes and also on the center stage too. Why I like this entry? Well, if you look at the overall concept, it is basically Angel, that Alita Angel-like humanoid or mobile suit floating on top, giving the grunt unit a kick in the face. So if you look at that grunt unit that's been kicked by the kid itself, you will see that the head is tilting towards the left, and the overall build and the finishing of the kit is seriously quite superb. In terms of the detail finishing, as what we've seen from the shoe floor itself, I have to say details finishing, it is actually a very clean build. It's not those weathered damage like build. So all in all, having a mobile suit fluid in motion, the pose is very dynamic, and I think that's one of the reasons why Kawaguchi-san picked this as a champion from Malaysia. I think this is definitely one of my top picks for GBWC 2019 champion. One of the reasons why I think is because also this is something that is very new in terms of concept. It's very refreshing. Almost every single GBWC open category champ for the last few years, you will see that the grand champion is always one with a new concept. So this is something that if you follow Kawaguchi, Meijin Kawaguchi's Twitter or Facebook page, you'll notice that he will repeat this every single year, right? Don't copy last year's winning entry team or concept, because the judges will not pick it if they see it's the same thing and you're trying to copy somebody else's style and language. So that is something to take note of. I think second clear winner, top picks for champion, is of course the one from Japan. This entry, frankly speaking, is very, very strong. Not for the mobile suit, I would say, but it's the overall concept of a mobile suit summoning a dragon behind him. And I think that is where I really find this entry quite interesting. It's a very clean build again, as I've mentioned in my previous video. Most of the Japanese entry seems to be very clean, not really weather damage, but it's very clean to really showcase the build quality and the paint and finishing. So this entry, the Grand Champion from Japan, is also one of the top picks because I think the overall concept is quite fresh. But given that this year there's actually quite a lot of dragon concept from Japan as well, so that is something that was quite of a change. And finally, the top picks for either champion or runner-up is the one from South Korea. I know most of you are probably sick of seeing Gundam Wing and RX-78-2 in the open category, but to be very frank, the way the South Korean entry has portrayed the storytelling of Zaku and RX-78-2 battling out up to the point that they are so damaged where a Gundam Wing had to come and rescue them is a very refreshing concept. But I think the key highlight of the entry is not only just in terms of the diorama, as I mentioned earlier. If you look at the WIP pics of the entry, the paint job of having a simultaneous chroma flare like finishing, but also at the same time it has that anime manga like finishing, is something that I've not really seen much in most competition. So between the Koreans, the Japanese, and also the Malaysian entry, which I'm a bit biased of, I'm going to be very upfront right now, I think these three are my clear picks winner for open category 2019 GBWC next week in Japan. So those are our top picks. I would love to hear from you guys which entry from both open category and also junior you think is going to be picked as champion next week. Love to hear from you guys at the comment section down below, and if you're new to our channel, hey, consider subscribing to our channel to support us. We'd love to hear from you guys if you're from France, Canada, Italy, China, Thailand or Taiwan, who can actually help us out next year for our GBWC coverage. So it's been fun. It's a toss-up between these three countries as open category champ. That is our picks. So love to hear from you guys in the comment section down below. So till then, thanks for watching Awesome Toys TV.